Neon Genesis Evangelion, an anime which was released during 1995 to 1996. And it was both a financial success and a critical acclaim. However, it was also controversial, especially the final 2 episodes, which many viewers and critics found confusing and abstract. But I didn't like it that much. And here are the reasons why. One of the major aspects that I didn't like about Evangelion was that it was very repetitive, especially in the beginning. Like up to the first 14 or 15 episodes, the story was basically the same. Like we would be shown Shinji struggling mentally. Him not wanting to pilot Eva but still piloting Eva, sometimes running away but again coming back because people are getting butchered. Asuka being a crackhead for almost everything. Rei Emanai being cold as hell all the time. Misato being an absolute badass except in front of her ex, Gendo Ikari not blinking a single time in the show. And among all these things, an angel shows up and they unite to defeat it, and they defeat it efficiently despite the chances being 0.000000001%. Basically this is pretty much everything which was happening in all the episodes. Hell, I even thought that this was an episodic anime and even searched about it on Google and checked but found out that it's like an episodic series but at the same time, it's not. Which not just makes it less interesting but also boring at times for me. Now you might think that I'm mostly into animes which have fight scenes in every 5 minutes, and even going to comment it to be cool, so it's not like that. Monster and Vinland Saga are some of my favorite animes and they are very hardcore seinen shows. Where they are a very story-driven series with a lot of thought-provoking stuffs, some dark concepts including trauma, don't have unnecessary fights, and Monster don't even have fight scenes at all. Even my favorite film is Interstellar, my favorite live-action TV show is Dark. So these examples pretty much gives a fair reflection that there is nothing wrong with my taste. Instead, I'm very much into the psychology or thought-provoking stuff. It's just that this anime just overdid whatever it was doing. The other animes which I included had a fair balance of everything. Sometimes they will be dark, sometimes they will be wholesome, sometimes it would make you emotional, sometimes it would make you happy. So they had a balance of everything. Which was lacking a lot in Neon Genesis Evangelion. Where Evangelion almost solely focused on to be dark, violent, and traumatic. And they overdid it a lot, to be honest. Which also felt very repetitive and frustrating at times. It's not like that it didn't have any light sequences at all, but as I said, there was no proper balance. Mostly it was just characters being in dilemma all the time and fighting the angels if they arrive. Although I could have still ignored this easily, if the other aspect which I'll talk about now would have been good, which is the storytelling. Now I know that many people in the internet regard this as masterpiece, and of course it also means that they like the storytelling as well, but if it was for some, then it doesn't mean it can be for everyone. And it's not even about the pacing. I've seen couple of shows and movies with slow pacing and still like them, but with Evangelion, the case is entirely different. In Neon Genesis Evangelion storytelling, it never explains anything. Even the fans of Evangelion would agree on this. I mean, after the first viewing, it is guaranteed that you would have been confused related to almost everything. And you had to Google at last and see the wiki and geek pages to get a clear understanding of the story. And even those pages, where did they got the information? From classified information from PS2 Neon Genesis Evangelion game. Yes, you heard it right, from a PS2 Evangelion game. Where the game developers had to interview the author Hideaki Anno for the answers, so that they can create the game efficiently. And from the use of classified information provided in the game, people created these pages. And that's the main reason why I found watching Evangelion quite difficult, because there was just nothing explained properly. Like the Human Instrumentality Project, which is the most significant part of the story, how many times even its name was used? Not even like 10 times, I guess. The SEAL organization, which serves as a very pivotal group of the show. Did anything about them was revealed? Close to none. Lance of Longinus, another significant aspect of the show. Do anything about it? Nope. Because it was never explained properly. So basically, when you will watch the show for the first time, without any insights or knowledge, you will understand basically nothing. Except that there are angels, which are being fought by Nerve. where they have giant robots, which is piloted by a bunch of depressed teenagers, that's it. Except this, there is a very rare probability of understanding anything else. Evangelion's take on being forcefully confusing just doesn't suit up with me. It just makes it very difficult for any new viewer to watch. Because everything is left to the audience, they have always been kept in the dark, and you just expect everyone to visit the wiki of geek pages. Now because of this, of course, there would be some who won't like it much, like me. And the last point which made me not like it much is Neon Genesis Evangelion being overhyped by the fans. Yes, being overhyped. Overhyped in terms of some aspects like violent, dark and gritty. Before watching the show, in many platforms people talked about that it's very violent or dark, but I never really felt it being a lot violent. Every time I thought I've seen more violence in other animes, it's not even half of it. But yeah, it was dark at times, but not as much as the fandom claim it to be. Without any hesitation, I can say that I've seen more darker elements than this. For example, in Death Note, Naomi Misora. She was a former FBI agent and the fiancée of Ray Penber, another FBI agent. Light Yagami, the protagonist, caused her death by using the Death Note to manipulate her into taking her own life. Now this is what I call dark. This whole scene was very dark and cold-blooded. And when it comes to Evangelion, I don't think so if it had anything like it. And to be honest, the main selling point of the show is not violence or being dark, the main selling point is its characters, not the overall story. Which brings us to our final point, which is the things which I liked in the show. So yeah, of course it's not like that I entirely disliked the show, otherwise why did I kept watching it despite dropping it? There were some things which I genuinely liked about the show, in which my favorite are the characters. Except this crackhead, except her, I liked everyone in the show. And as the show kept us in the dark for the overall story, at least it doesn't do the same for the characters. The characters' backstories, beliefs, goals, personalities are explained properly in the show, and each character comes with a very unique dynamics and struggles. Which for me makes the show more character-driven rather than story-oriented. And I had got it in the initial episodes only, that it's about the characters more rather than this angel defeating thing. And it's really interesting to see the characters' development throughout the show, and for me their personal struggles and problems were more fun to watch than fighting angels. And other than that, I really like the opening and ending song, it's very addictive. I'm listening their full versions on repeat ever since I completed the show. The show's animation was world-class, and to think that everything was hand-drawn leaves you in a complete awe. And not to mention the plot scenes of Misato, the creators were really clever on this one. Anyways, this was the overall experience of mine, watching Neon Genesis Evangelion. It was not as I wanted it to be, but at least there was something which I liked about the show. And yeah, I forgot to mention that I'm not saying that the show is bad or trash. It is widely regarded as one of the best ever. Although not for me, and I already explained why, so basically this show, or shows of this genre in particular, are just not my type. But all the points which I have stated are completely valid, to be honest. I don't see anything wrong with it. Also, not to mention that Neon Genesis Evangelion fandom is really good at accepting criticisms. I've seen couple of videos of people with the same topic, but they don't get offended by it, instead they accept it saying we understand. So as of now, that's it from me, and if you're a Jujutsu Kaisen fan, and have a doubt in understanding the new villain of the show, then you can check out this video, where I've explained everything about the villain, its origin, goals, abilities, etc. So if you're interested, you can check it out.